Good evening and welcome to week 14 of the Marea and Friends concert series. We are so delighted to be here with composer and educator Marea Ford, and this is our second to last episode of 2020, so we are bringing you that holiday cheer.
A little bit about Marea. A proud native of Oklahoma City, Marea Ford is a multi-instrumentalist, composer, performer, teacher, clinician, and consultant. He holds a Bachelor of Music in Violin Performance from the University of Central Oklahoma and a Master of Music in Music Composition from the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. While attending UCO, Marea was a member of the UCO Wind Symphony, Symphony Orchestra, Symphonic Band, Chamber Orchestra, and director of the UCO Ebony Gospel Choir. It was at UCO that Marea discovered his gift of writing music, melding his favorite genres of music, classical and gospel, together to create a signature sound. This unique sound and sophisticated writing style has brought forth compelling, poignant pieces that have been performed across the country. In 2018, he established Sim Design Incorporated as the vehicle for his composing, performing, and consulting endeavors. Marea has a passion for children, especially in the areas of access and exposure, which led to the founding of Arts in Action Incorporated. With an extensive history of being an organist and pianist for local churches and community events, Marea enjoys any opportunity to engage in meaningful experiences and is passionate about making a positive impact on the next generation of musicians. Recent accomplishments include Leadership Arts 2020 Next Gen Under 30 and 2020 Sphinx Connect Fellow. So we're super excited to share this program with you of some of Marea's pieces, and we hope that it gets you in a little bit of the holiday spirit.
And if you have a second, please check out our website for purchasing a virtual ticket. The artists that are involved in the concert and the Marea Duo really appreciate your support during the holiday season.
So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so, oh my gosh, week 14.
14.
Here we are.
Yes!
With Marea Ford. We're so excited to have you on this episode. And it's kind of funny because we actually met you during the pandemic.
Yeah,
so we've
never met face to face.
Well, in person, yeah. So it was kind of funny because I just reached out to you because I was looking at your website and I just liked your music and stuff, and then we ended up sort of forming this wonderful friendship, and now we have so many wonderful arrangements and pieces by you. So it's been so much fun collaborating, and
we get to play even more during the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll come up later in the episode. But yeah, no, Marea's really been with us since the start of the Marea Duo's formation.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
So it's really crazy. Here we are in the 14th week of this virtual series, and we've been keeping up about what we've been up to throughout this. So yeah, we're just really happy to be here. So yeah.
Excited to be here, to be talking with you all. It seems like that was so long ago.
I know, right?
Just earlier this year.
I know.
Yeah, I know, it's so crazy.
We'll just start out by just kind of asking a couple questions. And so if you could just tell us a little bit about your musical journey and kind of especially some of your influences in your compositional style and what have been your biggest inspirations.
Okay. So yeah, I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, went to public school, started violin in the fourth grade at school. Switched to bass in fifth grade, but it was too big, so I switched back to violin. Then I went to a performing arts school and started playing saxophone. And every year I started playing another instrument. So I ended up playing oboe, like pretty much all of the saxes, a couple of the clarinets, while continuing to play violin. And I went to the University of Central Oklahoma on an oboe and a violin scholarship. Um, and then started composing and then got my master's in composition at UNC Greensboro. All throughout, I was playing violin, like I was in orchestra, band, and then playing at church and stuff like my whole life. So those are sort of my wheelhouses.
Gotcha.
Um, my musical influences are like influencing my compositions. Gospel music is like a huge influence. Um, just something that I grew up with probably since like there are pictures of my mom directing at church and me standing next to her, like also directing. So yeah, gospel music has been with me my entire life. So a lot of my music is influenced by gospel, specifically like the harmonies in gospel music. Also like the rhythm and syncopation. So definitely a big influence. And then I'm starting to explore like different areas of like the Black experience and incorporating those experiences into my music. So one of the pieces that you all are doing, Groove with Me, was inspired by an HBCU band because I love HBCU bands.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I would say that those are probably these at the moment like my biggest influence.
Yeah, it's so awesome that you have played, oboe and violin. So you went to school for both, you were playing both of them, like it
Yeah.
wasn't weighted on one instrument. It was kind of equal for you.
Well, so I had to like declare, I guess like for official purposes, but like I was in wind symphony every semester. I was in oboe lessons every semester.
Yeah.
Uh, I was in violin lessons in orchestra and chamber orchestra every semester. The only difference was that um, I didn't, I didn't have to do chamber music for oboe, but then I did play in a quintet for a while. So.
Yeah, it explains why you write so well for the double reed instruments and
I know.
why we love playing your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in Wind Symphony. I played some terrible parts. Like, how am I supposed to play this low B flat
Yeah.
piano? Like,
Yeah.
I understand somebody probably can, but I don't even know how to make reeds. How am I supposed to make it down like with this low no? Yeah.
The first piece tonight on the program is an original composition by Amari Ford called Groove With Me. And this piece is based off of HBC bands, and we are going to be showing a brief video that highlights the inspiration for this piece. And you will recognize some of the motives in the bass line of the bassoon and the quick, flippant grace notes in the oboe part. This has been a real joy to put together, and it's really got us to explore outside of our comfort zones and different sound worlds in the Marea duo, and we are so grateful to Amari for writing this piece. And we will also show you a little word that we spoke with Amari about writing this piece.
So if you could just tell us a little bit about Groove With Me. I know you said before about a little bit about what it was influenced by, but yeah, I guess if you could just elaborate on that a little bit more and kind of talk about your influences for writing the piece and yeah.
Sure. So yeah, Groove With Me is inspired by like music that HBCU bands play. And this particular piece takes sort of like two different elements. Um, so there are like stand tunes that you play in the stands, and then there's a field show. Um, there's generally like a portion of the show where they're playing like a ballad, and there's like no movement. There might be like um, some flags or something, but it's nothing extravagant. Then there's also sort of like the downward march, but like during that ballad, um, no, I'm thinking about the downward march. So the downward march for them is sort of like they'll do sometimes a popular tune or like a rap tune. And with rap tunes, since there aren't like a lot of melodies, we get like syncopation, or there might be sort of like a shout section that you would find like in jazz where everybody's playing the same rhythms and these like really cool harmonies. So I took that element along with like the ballad and the rap tune and just sort of mashed it together to get Groove With Me. But yeah, it's just like so fun and so um, has such great variety. So you'll notice in the piece that there's some moments that are like really kind of low and luscious, but then there's also some moments where you're kind of at the top of your range. And if you listen to some videos, you'll hear like trumpets screaming high, like baritones. Everyone's just at the top of their register. So I really like the juxtaposition of like the tessitura that they use, the registrations, the harmonies, all of that stuff. So those are all things that you'll find in Groove With Me.
Yeah, I remember, well, when I was first starting to look at the music, I loved the first instruction on the page. I think it says with a bop or like a bop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that I've ever received that instruction. And I was like, okay, I'm ready for this piece, and it's
Ready to bop.
I'm ready to bop. And like, I feel like I've been ready to bop my whole life,
Yeah. And that's the first time I've ever used a tempo marking like that.
Yeah.
But
it's effective.
I don't think you can write like Allegro con brio.
Yeah.
No, but it's effective. It like really put me in the mindset to like
Yeah, because no, I
Go
think
ahead.
that when I was reading through it, it almost like initially when I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is a fast piece. But then when I like see the bop and I start like, it's like gives it a whole nother like
lean back.
Like I love it. Yeah.
No
great.
rush.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've intentionally tried to be, I guess, more authentic. Because like that's how it would talk. That's a bop.
Yeah.
It's a bop. It's not Allegro, it's not Andante, or it's a bop. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to just as I write, make it more authentic for for me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like I was actually discussing this in my class in poetry and vocal music the other day, and it's just like music that is just true to the composer, I feel like is the most special music for the performer to play.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like this is such a special collaboration, is because like I can tell what it means to you. Yeah. And I feel honored to be playing it. So
yeah.
Thank you for playing that.
You're not checking out Amare's famous compositions for the Marea duo, you should also check out his website, Sim Design, and his Arts and Action Camp. He is not only a composer, he is an educator and an entrepreneur in the arts, which is something that we all really need to be right now during this difficult time. So if you could just talk a little bit about your other creative projects and some of the most rewarding moments that you've had in your artistic journey with them.
Sure. So Sim Design is my personal brand for composing, performing, consulting, all that stuff. It's just that I think there's going to be a time, maybe soon, that I do this full time for my living. And so I wanted to start setting up those things so that they're ready a little bit later on. And as far as one of the most rewarding, well, there's been like two really rewarding things. They're related. So Midwest Clinic happens every year in Chicago. It's this huge conference for choir, I think, choir, string, and orchestra, choir, orchestra, and band. It's an international conference, so people literally come from all over the place. There's performances, vendors, all of that stuff. So John Mackey hosts a table in like the vending area where he allows underrepresented composers to sort of set up shop and be able to meet other like individuals who might be interested in performing their works and just sort of get to meet people. But like the vendor fee it's kind of steep. I want to say it's like $1,000 or something like that. So he pays for that, and then we just have to get to Chicago, and we're there. So that was like a really cool experience to be selected to go. And then I ended up meeting a band director from Minnesota who was looking for some new music. So she's looking at a score that I had just finished for Wind Symphony. And she's, asking all these questions, and they end up premiering my piece in March. Actually, like right before we went on quarantine.
Wow.
Yeah, so that
They
was
got it premiered. They premiered it.
Yeah.
So it was good timing in that sense.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I initially wanted to wait. They had a concert in March and they had one in May, and I wanted to wait because I didn't feel ready. And then something was like, no, just go ahead and do it. I'm so glad that I did, because otherwise I wouldn't have, had that performance. And who knows when large bands are going to be back, together to play. And so, yeah, really grateful for that.
Awesome.
Then Arts in Action.
Yeah.
I started in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that, people don't have access to all the same stuff. I think that, that's pretty easy to see, but I wanted to do something to combat that. And so Arts in Action, what we do is we provide quality arts education for like the people who need it the most. For students who don't have consistent teachers or consistent qualified teachers or consistent funding for programs. And so Arts in Action exists outside of the school district because I didn't want to have to go through them to make a change. I wanted to be in charge of like the change. And it's not to say that I have all the answers and I'm going to fix it, but I didn't want like the bureaucracy and the politics and stuff to deal with that red tape.
So how many students do you currently have in Arts in Action?
Yeah, so right now we're sort of doing camps. We don't operate throughout the entire.
I saw your virtual camps, like the week camps.
Yeah, so we this summer we did a virtual camp because it's not safe to gather, which actually ended up being really cool because there are people from across the country that were able to participate in our camp. So we did it for 2 weeks. We learned about Black artists. We focused on music, dance, and writing. And so created a curriculum that highlighted Black artists and gave an opportunity for the students to create things and then share it with us. So that was a really, really good experience. And we got really great feedback from students, but also from some of the parents and guardians about their experience with it. So we'll definitely be doing our summer camp again. And then as we grow and get funding and all that stuff, we'll eventually operate as like an after school program that runs through the school year, through the summer, and puts on productions and all that good stuff.
I feel like it's also even more rewarding when you see a child like have that like clicking moment with an instrument that they like wouldn't otherwise have access to. Like, especially with like the instrument, the bassoon, like it's pretty hard to come across that instrument in general. But like when you see someone who wouldn't come together with it, and it's just like that gives me the chills. It's just like getting instruments in kids' hands is one of the most important things, I think. So
yeah.
I miss like seeing kids in person. I've just been teaching like through the computer screen, and it's just I mean, I just remember we were teaching at the school through this like Music in Schools initiative thing, and we had these sisters, and like, oh my gosh, they were both there. Were they in fourth grade? I think
they were in fourth grade. Yeah,
and they were just, one of them played oboe. They were twins. One of them played oboe, one played bassoon, and they just like we were both starting them on their instruments.
Like I literally gave her first bassoon lesson.
It was just,
Wow.
and they were so sweet, and they were just so excited. That's what I
It's
was
just like to
thinking about.
have that. I mean, and you have it all the time with your camps, but just to have that moment with someone.
Yeah.
I, although I'm not like a fan of being in person, so our district is doing a hybrid
Mhm.
model, like the AB thing. But I do enjoy getting to see my kids. Like last week, I started out not having a super great week, but then like I saw my kids and they were just excited and they were quirky and they were funny, and literally like made my day better. And so I do really enjoy spending time with kids and like the innocence that they have, and like you said, when they have that moment where like it clicks for them,
Yeah.
that's just so amazing to be able to experience.
And
Yeah.
also, I feel like by teaching, like it also keeps you in check too. Like, I mean, that's like what you're saying. Like, it makes you have a better day. Like, it like reminds you about like what are your core principles as a player. And like, I feel like the kiddos, they just like what I remember one day with music in the schools, my bassoon student, I put on glitter that morning, like on my eyelids because I was having a really bad morning. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna spice things up. Okay. And I was like, no one's going to notice the glitter. It's very subtle. Okay. Very subtle. The first thing my student noticed was, I love your glitter. And it was just like the sweetest thing. And it's just like, I feel like they pick up on, I don't know, they pick up on things
Yeah,
and they really care about the teacher too. So
yeah. Like I have one student in particular. When I came back to school, she was like, "Mr. Ford, you got new glasses?" Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I did.
yeah.
And then maybe I was blowing my nose or something. She was like, "Mr. Ford, you got your nose pierced?"
I
Yes, I did.
know, it's like those little things that like, oh, you noticed.
Yeah, so that's definitely a highlight. Yeah, getting to see them and like all their quirkiness and watching them figure out the world and teaching them to be responsible and accountable. I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I
Yeah.
think I'm pretty good at it. I'm starting to feel myself just a little bit.
I feel like your personality is like if you were my teacher, I feel like you would be so much fun. Like I would always want to go to Mr. Ford's class.
Yeah, I try to be fun.
Yeah.
Like laid back. That's what my evaluations always say. Before you're so calm, I don't know how you do
Oh.
it. Way like for middle schoolers because you balance out their chaotic energy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I just like I'm talking to y'all, this is how I be talking to them.
That's so fun. Yeah, and then another question that we had was so I guess I mean during this pandemic time, um you're teaching in person and then also doing like some composing and things like that. So I guess it's two different sort of things that are keeping you motivated in the two different aspects of your life. But what does keep you motivated and what are those things that sort of inspire you?
To
When
be honest,
oh go
it
ahead.
really depends on
Yeah.
the day of the week. Um, like yeah, it's definitely been difficult. I'll say that I'm not consistently motivated. It's sort of like ebbs and flows. But in general, I just try to like take care of myself. I haven't been doing a great job of it lately, but when I was at my best, I was drinking a lot of water, I was taking walks, and that sort of kept me sharp, but also like doing stuff. Um, but yeah, it just really, I would also say like my support system. So I deal with anxiety and depression. And so I have like a really strong support system that I trust. And so when I start to like feel myself sort of losing it, I'll say, okay, this is happening. Just kind of check up on me or hold me accountable or help me do this. And so I have really great family and friends who, when I need them, they're there for me. Whether it's like to help me pack up something or say, hey, you need to finish that piece today. So all the other stuff you're doing, cut it off. And they know, which one I need in the moment. So I would say, yeah, definitely like friends and family. And I try to take advantage when I do have the momentum and the motivation to like really focus and do as much as I can. And then sometimes just pulling up something that I started on and hearing it and sort of reliving the moments I had creating it. That sometimes like is motivation as well.
Mm.
So,
I think that's one of the most real answers that we've gotten to that question.
really?
Yeah, I just feel like I totally related to everything that you said. And I mean, like, I feel like that support system, like, I feel like it certainly ebbs and flows. And like, I mean, we know when one of us is spiraling.
Yeah.
And we pick each other up,
Yeah.
And I feel like nobody says that stuff in these interviews,
Yeah.
Because it's been hard.
It's been hard, and you have to have
and it takes a lot. I think one of the things that I've realized is how difficult it is to be an adult.
Yeah.
To really stay on top of everything, just in a normal setting, like, cleaning your house, paying your bills, going to the grocery store, like having food to eat, getting gas in your car, plus whatever you might do for work. Like, there's just a lot of stuff to keep up with, maintenance on your car.
Yeah.
And so during these times, everything is like exacerbated. And so it takes so much more energy to do those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has not been easy for me. Maybe they have some advice or access to stuff that I don't know about. I would love whatever it is they have. But yeah, it's been difficult.
Well, also, like, when you're talking, it's like running errands become an event during the pandemic because we're operating from our homes.
Yeah.
Because like normally it's like, oh, I'll just swing by a grocery store, I'll just swing by this, I'll just go do these things, boom, 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 list.
Yeah.
But like now it's like everything is so much work.
Yeah.
But I mean, during these crazy times, do you have any like words of wisdom or like anything that keeps you kind of like anything that you look back on or like a moment that you look back? You said you kind of like look back at past music or experiences that keeps you, but like, do you just have like a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's maybe feels like they're struggling during this time?
Yeah, I try to remind myself and others often that we are living in a global pandemic. There's nothing normal about that. So if you're having difficulty being productive or creative or whatever, yeah, that's a perfectly normal reaction to a global pandemic. So
Yeah.
place, and if you don't get it done today, like, you're alive, and there are lots of people who aren't because of this global pandemic. So take care of yourself, and remember, global pandemic.
Yeah. That's so true. Because I feel like it's so easy to forget that because we're all just sitting at home, and I mean, obviously when you go out and you see everybody in masks, you're sort of reminded of it, but it's like turned into normal life sort of. And then people forget that we're in a global pandemic.
But one of the things that really resonated with me that one of my yoga instructors told me actually in New Haven last year before all this happened, she said something that keeps her grounded is she says the phrase, it's all part of it. So we are all part of this pandemic. The pandemic is all a part of this great continuum of the life that we're going to live and the lives that other people are going to live. It's just all part of a moment in time. And I feel I have that as a quote above my read desk too. It's like every bad read, it's all part of it. You know, everything is all part of it.
Yeah.
So every piece we play, it's all part of it. So
Yeah.
every unproductive day, it's just part of it. You know, it's
par for the course.
Yeah.
I'll be complaining about something. It's like, oh, grasshopper, it's just par for the course. Yeah, it's all part of it. Like, yeah, and I think that there'll be a time where we look back and say, wow, we lived through a global pandemic. We did this, like, so yeah,
it's part of the story, you know, it's like we're writing it right now.
Yeah, and hopefully we can maybe meet in person one day.
That's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
I know.
Once we're out of this part of it,
and the next part of it
we'll be together.
So at this time, we would like to announce another Marea Duo competition. And this time, instead of a pumpkin carving competition, this is going to be an ugly holiday sweater competition.
Yeah, so just if you have a moment, which I'm sure we all do during this holiday season, just snap a picture of you in your favorite ugly holiday sweater and submit it to our email account, mareadoublereads@gmail.com, and this should be by no later than December 16th at midnight. And we will look over the entries and then select a winner that will be able to choose between some Marea merchandise, which we will show right here. We just recently got some new Marea Duo sweatshirts. Or if you are a musician or in any capacity wanting to collaborate with the Marea Duo, we will feature you on an episode of your choosing in this season.
And all you have to do is throw on your favorite holiday sweater and take a picture.
Just
super
like that.
easy.
Exactly.
So we can't wait to see everyone's submissions, and we look forward to choosing a winner.
The final piece tonight on the program is an arrangement by Amari Ford of a holiday standard that you may be familiar with. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and as everyone who is watching right now knows, it is a very different December, and it may not feel like the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, but we've found a lot of joy in other things this holiday season that we may not normally around this time of year. So we hope that this brings you a little bit of joy, and we're very grateful to Amare for writing this arrangement for us, and just keep an eye out for our holiday album, maybe coming 2021.
2021, Marea Duo, double read.
So we hope you enjoy. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Thank you, Amare.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Do-ba, ba-do-ba, do-ba, do-ba, tweed-do, ba-do-ba, do-do-ba, dee-dee-do-ba, dee, ba-do-ba, do-ba, do-ba, dee-ba, do-ba, do-ba.
Yeah, and then on a little bit of a different note, for the most wonderful time of the year, could you talk a little bit about your time that we've spent together and what it's been like writing for double reeds and vocal instruments? Because you are probably one of the few people, I mean, that have written for this instrumentation, and the excitements, the challenges, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember after first meeting you all and sort of hearing what you do and saying it, and you all wanting more music like that. I was like, I don't know. Like, I actually was pretty apprehensive because I had never done anything like that before. So I was like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna do this? How's it gonna sound? And then you all did summertime, and I was like, hmm, this is really cool. Um, so yeah, I've enjoyed it a whole lot. I, talked about my experience playing oboe and getting terrible parts. But I also really love bassoon. Like, if yeah, I think if I had to pick like another one instrument to play, bassoon. When I took woodwind techniques, it was my favorite. Playing that low B flat.
Yes.
Once I figured that out, it was like every time we set up, baby, you're
Yeah.
gonna hear that B flat. But yeah, I just love the timbre of the instrument and like the versatility. So yeah, I think I really enjoyed writing for you all. One, because like you play really well, but also sing really well. So I try to think of ways that I can push just a little bit, maybe outside your comfort zone,
Mhm.
but not to a point where you're so uncomfortable that like you don't perform well.
Mhm.
And just coming up with like creative ways to fill out the harmony, because duets are a hard thing to write well. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say that I write like super well, but yeah, you have to work really hard uh, to make it come through for the audience. And so
Mhm.
it's been like really cool to work with you all and to be able to write this very unique ensemble. Um, yeah, even like with "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year," I've never written like scat before, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I had to really think about, okay, how does this work? So shout out to Pentatonics. I read
Yeah.
them, watched a few YouTube videos, and I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm really anxious to hear like the recording and how that is going to turn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it made me really happy when you just said pentatonics, because like actually one of my biggest inspirations for when I was starting to sing was being in vocal jazz groups, and I used to scat all the time. And then so
Oh,
I was really excited to see some
okay.
scat involved in Wonderful Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing I was gonna add is like, I think what we've both noticed in when you've written for us instrumentally and vocally is you're so good at sort of like interweaving the when one of us transitions to singing or when going back, because that's the hardest part often, because it's like sometimes maybe there's not like in things that we've done before, there's like we need to take a breath or something, and it's
Right.
like hard to get back onto the instrument, but it's so you write that particularly so well, and it's so easy in all the things that you've written for us. So that's really awesome. Yeah.
One of my best friends is a vocalist, and so we worked together in church for a long time. And he would like get on to me about specific things. And then I've worked with choirs most of my life, so I feel like I have like all the tools that I need to write well for you all. And I'm really big on transitions. I don't like when they're abrupt, and so particularly when writing this arrangement, because it switches back a little bit differently than summertime switches. So I wanted to think of like, okay, how can I build time for like her to stop singing and like breathe a little bit before like she has to play again.
Air is important, believe it or not.
Setting the embouchure and not feeling rushed. And so I was thinking about that when writing the transitions and sort of mapping out who was going to sing what and who would play when. So I'm glad that you found that to be easy for you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that concludes week 14 of the Marea and Friends concert series.
We would like to extend a big thanks to Amari Ford for his thoughtful compositions and having such a collaborative spirit in the creation of this episode this week. And we just want to extend our gratitude for our virtual audiences and the virtual concert communities that have been cultivated during this really difficult time. And it really holds a special place in our heart, and that is what really keeps us going and wanting to create every week for moments like this.
Yeah, and so we hope that these Saturday evenings bring a little bit of joy to your life, and we are wishing everyone a happy holiday season, and join us again next Saturday. We will be here with
Eliav Goldman, who just so happens to be one of my first friends that I ever had. And we both went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison together, and there may or may not be some baby footage of Eliav and I when we were very little. And he has already started doing some promotion, so just check out his Instagram and Facebook page. We'll post those links below. It's going to be a really great show.
So join us next week, same place, same time.
Thank you so much, and happy holidays.